In today's doodle, we're going to continue with the beach scene. And if you think about it, what sort of creatures might you find at the beach? There's a creature called a nautilus crab. It doesn't really have a bone structure because it's mostly made out of what looks like jelly. But it does have a really big head, and I'm actually going to make it going this way this time, so I'm going to have him going this way. So let's get this really big head, which is his shell, or her shell. Got a really big eye, and I'm making it bigger than it is in my example. And his shell, her shell, keep correcting myself, its shell kind of goes like this. Like a big snail. Then it's just got this bulbous sort of a face with, I don't know if you call this a mouth, not quite sure what that is. I'm actually looking at another artist's work here and replicating it, and I'll show you what that looks like at another time. Even though it looks like the character is angry because of the way the shell is, I don't think it is. I think it's just the way he looks. So looks can be deceiving, right? So there's a bunch of tentacle looking things coming out the backside here, and then there's more tiny tentacles coming here, so I'm not quite sure. I know that in a nautilus crab or a nautilus squid, their mouth is kind of underneath here. So I'm going to put a couple of circles on him here, just a pattern. So that's my base drawing. I'm not sure what we'll call him. If he's a squid or she's a squid, let's call her Sally. SallySquid. Back in the early days of Marvel Comics, Stan Lee, who was the main writer, named a lot of the characters with the first and last name starting with the same letter. So I'm SallySquid. Could be saying goodbye to Jane here. And I can't seem to find my phone to take a picture of this. So once again, in this one there wasn't really any bone structure. There was just a very large circular thing. And I'm going to take a moment to go find my phone. So I'm taking a picture of it with my phone. I guess I should just say it, right? And I'm going to upload it later. But again, please remember to record your process. I'm going to actually make these little feet thing turn into a mouth. That way, Sally can be happy, but maybe just tired. So it could be that just like eyebrows on other characters, oh, just notice that Jane doesn't have any eyebrows. Huh. Okay, well, maybe a character can be defined without eyebrows. She certainly looks happy there. So again, even though I've drawn these tentacles a certain way, as I'm going back through here, I'm redefining the way they look. Because what's going to happen is, if you've noticed on these other drawings, I've changed the horizon line a couple of times. So here's what's going to be interesting. I'm going to put this horizon line way up here. You can sort of see a trend. The interesting thing is going to be that once we digitize all of these, once we take photographs of them and put them into Photopia, we can line up the horizon line and see where on the page these characters might go. So I'm also going to put a little lip down here. This is another embellishment. Notice I didn't quite hit this line. Not going to worry about that. So as the shell comes up over the top, not sure what this little nook is here, but and then these things are spots or polka dots. I'm going to put a big one back here, and maybe a big one here. Again, this is completely arbitrary and random. Looks like she's got a little bit of a beauty mark there. So there's my second penciling of Sally the Squid. So I'll take another photo of this. And again, I'd like to see at least 3 photos, possibly 4 if you ink them. Or I should say when you ink them. I haven't inked this one yet. Busy making phone calls and stuff yesterday, but so I'm just going to take some time and go around the details here and beef it up, remembering where my sunlight is. Even though the sun doesn't cast the types of shadows that I'm doing here, because the sun is so far away that most of the light that comes to the earth, because we're so far away, looks like it's parallel. There is a slight variation. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you'll notice one other thing. I didn't turn the lamp on this time. I noticed yesterday when I was watching my videos that the character kept disappearing, so I apologize for that. I'm still learning the best way to do this. And what I have determined this morning as an experiment is that I left the light off. There's enough light around me to be able to see the character much better than yesterday. if you noticed yesterday when I was drawing, when you were watching that video, the character kept seeming to disappear, especially when I was doing the construction lines. So I decided to fix that today and do an experiment, and I think the experiment is working. The experiment being not using light, not using direct light, let's say. So again, I'm just beefing up the lines all the way around. I really like this style. I have never done a coloring book, or I should say I've never completed a coloring book, but one of my final assignments, which isn't really, you're not going to have to do anything more than you're already doing, but one of my final assignments is that we're going to take our characters and maybe make up a story and do a coloring book, so that there's a product that's sellable, even if it's just individual coloring pages on Etsy or one of those types of things. But the beauty of thinking, as a lot of my teachers have said in college, with the end in mind, meaning if there's a product that we can sell the product online or even physically when we get back into the classroom, and we can use the money from that to purchase materials and supplies. And depending on the popularity of it, maybe we can upgrade and get some fancy computer equipment, or fancier computer equipment. I'm right in the middle of, well, I should say I'm right at the beginning of making payments on a very large flatbed scanner. A flatbed scanner, the best way to think of a flatbed scanner is if you have a printer at home and you can lift the top of it and put a piece of paper in there that has drawings, and then scan the drawings into the computer. This flatbed scanner is, I think it's 24 inches long and 12 inches wide. So for a scanner, it's huge. Okay, so there's my third drawing, or not my third drawing, but my third step of the drawing. And I'm going to leave his eyes. Most of the time I like to color in the eyes, but I haven't done it this week. That way we can change the colors of the eyes. I think that Sally maybe needs some coffee, because the person drawing her definitely needs some coffee. He hasn't had his yet, so she hasn't had hers. So that's the drawing for today. Later on, when we get all of these done, we'll put them together in a montage of some sort.